Okay, so welcome Elaine back to the Zoom room for another Art of Letting Go live session. So let's jump straight into our email for today with today's quote. And a little bit of teaching related to that, which will lead us nicely into today's workbook lesson. And maybe we'll have some time for a bit of text today as well. See how we go. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen with you. You can read this headline quote.
Yeah. You are in heaven's Halley's Comet. We have one shot at seeing you shine.
Yeah, nice quote. Halley's Comet, if you know a little bit about astronomical matters, it's a comet that comes past the Earth every 76 years, I think it is. So most people are only going to see Halley's Comet once in their life. That's it. So he's using that as an analogy to say, okay, you've got one shot at this, one shot at seeing you shine. So make the most of it. From an American pastor, follows on beautifully from yesterday's quote and mind training lesson, where we talked about the connection between healing and your higher purpose. So when you choose heaven, which is one name for the transcendent state of pure formless awareness that every authentic spiritual teaching points to. For example, the Buddhists call it nirvana. It's called moksha in Hinduism. You're also choosing to let awareness of its reality arise in the world through you. Right? So you become a channel for this awareness. And this awareness leads to all happiness, peace, and joy that you experience and can help others to experience as well by giving them your example to follow. But most people don't want to choose heaven because they think that doing so will alienate them from people, things, and events in this world, and they don't want to let go of their attachment to these illusions. So it is true that ultimately the choice for heaven, being the state of pure formless awareness, will result in you leaving this world of time and space. You'll leave it behind to enter permanently into this eternal, infinite state of awareness. That's true, ultimately. But while you're seemingly in this world and still correcting your mind, you can engage in the world in a way that you are, quote, done through, which means that pure formless awareness of perfect love guides all your words, decisions, and actions, and uses your awareness as a channel for expressing itself in the world. And this is what Yeshua meant when he told his disciples that although they were not of this world, they would remain in it for a while. Be in the world, but not of the world. That's what it means. So this means that you, as his modern-day disciple, can remain in the world for a while to learn to let go of all attachments to this world, and in the process, spread the happiness, peace, and joy that stem from this transcendent realm through your example, and also powerfully and positively influence the mind of the sonship, as Yeshua calls it in ACIM, or the quantum or morphic field in modern scientific terminology. So all of your thoughts, your emotions influence this field quite profoundly. Your actions become even more powerful, words and actions, because now you're affirming it through your words and actions. You're affirming that this is what you believe. So if we look back at Anita Mojani's example, we talked about her in the last couple of days. She is an outstanding example of someone who's doing this. Had a near-death experience and came back and has become a teacher, helping people to awaken to this state of mind that she went into, which one could call heaven. But you don't need to have a near-death experience and write a best-selling book to allow heaven or pure formless awareness to have a profound impact on other people through you. All you need to do is choose to remain in a state of pure formless awareness, no matter what seems to be happening on the level of form, and allow it to inspire you to act with loving kindness towards every person and sentient being. So in whatever you're doing, you bring this awareness through, and this awareness expresses in and through you. This is why we say you're done through. And it's no longer you doing it. This is the key point. It's not the separate self that's doing it. It's a power and intelligence and awareness, whatever you want to call it, that is beyond just a limited separate self that's doing it through you. And that's what it means to surrender to God. You're surrendering your separate identity and allowing this awareness to come in and do it for you. And the more you do that, the more this awareness becomes you. The more you realize that actually this awareness is not separate from you. It's not like you and this awareness. It is your own true awareness. It's your own true self that's finally coming into your awareness and expressing through you. And then we start to live our lives in harmony with spirits and with our source and with others, because we finally waking up to who we are through this process of surrendering our ego, our separate self. And so can you see, Elaine, how important it is to flow with life and to surrender? Because that's the process of letting go of the separate self that you think is doing your life, that you think is living your life. So if you can do this, act with loving kindness towards every person and sentient being, you allow this flow to come through you. It's a good place to start from. And if you're inspired to do nothing else in your life, being consistently loving and kind to people will help you to stay connected to the state of pure formless awareness, experience what I call foundational happiness, and help other people to do the same. Whatever else you feel inspired to do on top of this is a miraculous bonus, but need not be anticipated or desired in any way, because that will only sabotage your experience of pure formless awareness, which is always right now and cannot be experienced in the past or the future. So, let go and flow is another way of saying this. I let go of all my own attachments and desires and fears, and I allow the flow to happen through me, and it will guide me in whichever way I need to go. I'm not really in charge of the process. I'm merely responsible for opening to the flow, to being open-minded. It's the 10th characteristic of God's teachers and the manifold teachers. Open to this guidance, to listen, and to then let that guidance direct this flow. Okay, so there's a bonus talk, 26 minutes, about the Buddhist perspective on the stages of enlightenment. That's remarkably similar to the course teachings, unsurprisingly, on how to find heaven. It talks about the stages of awakening, about the fetters, which are really just the Buddhist terminology for the blocks that Yeshua uses. The term he uses, the blocks to awareness of love's presence. The Buddhists call them fetters. It's really 6 of one and half a dozen of another. It's the same thing, just different language and just a different take on it. So I include these things so you can start referencing to other paths and teachings and go, well, really, it's all the same. The course is not saying anything that other teachings aren't saying. It's just saying it maybe in a way that resonates with me more. And it's I think it's incredibly clear, very clear, precise document. There's no kind of fudging it. There's no duality that creeps in, or very little. And if he introduces it, he'll say, okay, well, in this instance, like with sickness, we're using a compromise approach. And that's for practical purposes, because someone's not open to the at-one-ment. But always bring you back to the essential teaching, the non-dual teaching underlies everything. Okay, so watch that, listen to that when you have a moment, when you have half an hour to listen to it. It's a good one. So that brings us to today's lesson. And we're going to said we talk about how it relates, discuss today's quote, how it relates to near-death experiences. So, heavens, Halley's Comet, we have one shot at seeing you shine. So a near-death experience, I think, can awaken people to their true self. And as with Anita Mojani, she was called to come back and actually live that. She still had work to do, to learn that herself, to integrate it, and then to teach it. And so her father in the near-death experience said, well, your choice, always have a choice, but I suggest you go back and you heal your body, and then you've got this profound work to do, which is what's happened, so what's unfolded. So even though she had access to heaven, and part of her just wanted to stay there, she came back with heaven with her, and of course that healed her body, and that has inspired her to write her books and become a globally recognized teacher. It's had an impact on hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people. I think sold over 1 million copies. So that one experience, this happens quite often when people have an awakening experience like that. It is the foundation then of a new life, and that experience completely transforms everything they do in their life. And so that's how heaven then comes into the world, in and through them and their life experience. And we see a reflection of heaven in and through them, which is how it comes into the world. If it didn't have channels like these people, then how would we see it? So it needs to express in and through people, and you are another channel. So surrendering to that purpose and saying, okay, I'm open to that, means that you are then opening yourself to the will of God. You're surrendering to God, and you're opening yourself to being used as a vehicle and a channel, which is what it means to surrender to God. And then heaven comes through you and expresses in and through you, and manifests itself in and through you to others, in however that's going to look for you. Everyone's got their own special journey, which Yeshua calls your special function. It's going to unfold for you in a way that's uniquely different from anyone else, because in this world you have an identity and a life and various skills and talents and abilities and networks, and everything is unique to you. And so it's going to play out uniquely to you, and that becomes your higher purpose or special function in this world. But the spirit is the same as the same spirit as inspires me or Yeshua or any spiritual master or anyone throughout history. It's the same spirit. It's just going to play out differently for you. Okay, so that's how heaven relates to the quote. Hopefully I answered that. Any other questions on any of this, Elaine?
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's good.
Good. Okay. So that prepares us nicely for today's lesson. Let's dive into our workbook lesson 138. So let's go into, we don't want that. We want, where are we? 138. There we go. Heaven is the decision I must make. So give me a moment. Let me just, some recording going. Okay, so lesson 138. Heaven is the decision I must make. You want to read that in the alternative as well.
Yeah. Heaven is the decision I must make, or I must decide for pure formless awareness.
Yeah, simply put, heaven is the decision I must make. Can be a bit abstract, maybe. Someone's like, well, what does that actually mean? Well, the alternative states it very practically. I must decide for pure formless awareness. So every moment I'm making a decision, a choice. I'm deciding for heaven being pure formless awareness, which is a state of mind, of being, or I'm deciding for something else. And that's the choice. So when you're talking about the moment in traffic this morning, when you let that gentleman in who was looking stressed and harried, and there was a moment where he said, okay, I'll let go of my own personal interest to get somewhere quicker, and I'll let him in. That's a decision for pure formless awareness in that moment. That's how it plays out. May not seem like it in the moment, but what happens then is when you make that decision, you feel a bit more connected to that awareness, and so does the other person. And so it's a decision for that in the world, because you've expressed and perpetuated, strengthened this awareness in the world through that decision. So it's actually quite practical. You decide for pure formless awareness when you choose love, and you choose peace, and you choose joy, and that's going to play out differently in different situations. But the Holy Spirit's going to guide you as to how to do this, because that's its job. That's what it's there to do, to translate this awareness, which is completely transcendent. It's an awareness beyond this world. There's a in the graphic, it's like stairway to heaven, and then there's this light that's coming in the clouds. Well, that transcendent awareness is the light, pure formless awareness. But that light translates into the world, and that light guides us to take various steps in the world, and that's that becomes our path of at one-ness, to walk out of this world up the steps to heaven. And that happens moment by moment. It's a decision moment by moment. So think of it like this: every time I make the decision for pure formless awareness, it's another step in the right direction. And there might be thousands, hundreds of thousands of these steps that I have to take in my life. It's another step in the right direction. If I decide not for pure formless awareness, let's say you said, no, I'm too busy, like I'll cut this guy off and I'm not interested. It's a step away from that awareness. And that's subtle, but it's profound. If you keep taking steps towards something or steps away from something, over time, that's going to profoundly influence the direction you're going, won't it? It's a bit like being at a crossroads. So every moment you're at a crossroads, you take a step away, you're going away from one direction, the opposite direction, and vice versa. Now, the first step isn't that significant. You're kind of still at the crossroads. But if you keep doing that, you're going to go further and further away from your direction, aren't you? More and more in the opposite direction. So the vigilance is like, okay, every moment of every day, I'm at a crossroads and I'm making a decision moment by moment as to which direction I'm going. And if I keep going in the right direction, that's going to take my life in a very different direction from the ego's direction. I'm going to go in the opposite direction, and that's going to start unfolding and gaining power and momentum. You start developing a momentum. In this world, there's the physical Newton's laws postulate this law of inertia. Once a body's in motion, then it keeps going in that direction. So you build this momentum and you keep going in that direction. And that's what we want to build in a positive way. It works negatively as well. Maybe that's why it's difficult to correct. If you're in the negative mindset of the ego and you're in this negative pattern, it's very easy just to carry on there. And you just keep going, it gets worse and worse. And you've seen that playing out with your friend. If you keep going, you keep taking these steps in a negative direction, look at where you end up over months or years of that. It's not a pretty place. So we want to do it positively and say, no, every moment you're taking steps in the right direction. You're deciding for pure formless awareness. And that may look very simple. Oh, well, I just didn't cut someone off in traffic. Instead, I was kind and I let them in. No big deal, really. But it makes a difference. It's a step in the right direction. And the more you do that, the more likely you are to do that in future, aren't you? So, okay, well, I did it already and it felt good. So I'll do that again. And you start developing a habit or a pattern of behavior that's self-reinforcing, self-perpetuating. Kindness and love reinforce themselves because you start seeing the results from them, as do fear and unkindness reinforce themselves because you start seeing those results, and those results then seem to be justified, don't they? Whichever way you go, that becomes your reality. And I think the key thing behind today's thing is that it's decision. Heaven doesn't just happen. There's some people like, well, heaven just happens and it'll happen to you, like kind of some chance or accident. And Yeshua's not saying that. He's saying make the decision, make the choice, for it, moment by moment. That's the practice, and you can do that. In fact, you must do that. That's why he's given us a course to help us to do that. This is just reframing in another way that decision that he's teaching us to make over and over and over again in this course. I must decide for pure formless awareness. Okay, so let's read it, shall we? Do you want to just read the only real translation here is heaven becomes the state of pure formless awareness.
Right.
So given that, if there's more, we can but it's actually not a huge translated lesson. So I think if you like the flow of it and the speeding up of it, will leave us more time for the text, then just read the alternative. And bearing in mind that the state of pure formless awareness is heaven.
Heaven, yeah. In this world, the state of pure formless awareness is a choice, because here I believe there are alternatives to choose between. I think that all things have an opposite, and I choose what I want. If the state of pure formless awareness exists, there must be suffering as well. For contradiction is the way I make what I perceive and what I think is real.
Okay. Summary of that, what's he saying?
Well, it's just we have a choice between, we think we have a choice, but really the only choice is this state of pure formless awareness, because that's the only one that exists. Otherwise, the other is just suffering. It's a contradiction.
Yeah, we think dualistically still. Here I believe there are alternatives. So I might acknowledge that there's heaven, that there's a state of pure formless awareness of eternal peace and love and joy and bliss. But my mind says no, but here there's an opposite. Here there's pain and suffering and misery and death. And so we have a split mind. And it seems that in our unawakened mind that the negative, the suffering is more powerful than heaven. You know, if you're in the ego's mind, then that seems to dominate you, and heaven is very distant. And the ego's version of heaven is a parody on what heaven really is. The ego says we'll seek some kind of pleasure in this world. You know, some kind of pleasure or joy, but it's coming from outside of you, so it can't last. You know, the kind of the violation of this we talked about yesterday would be drugs. You take, let's say, heroin. That's the one that takes you into a state of pure formless awareness, but it's very temporary. You've cheated. It's not going to work, because you're going to come down and then you're going to be in hell. So you can't fake this. You can't cheat it. You've got to make the choice. It's a decision. You have to change your mind. That's the only way of having this consistently. It can't come from outside of you. It's an inside job. You have to change your mind and make a decision, not just once, but over and over again, moment by moment. You make the choice for this awareness, and then this heavenly state of pure formless awareness can start to come. And you start to experience it more and more. Okay, so happy to go to number 2 then. Creation knows no opposite. So creation we translate as being. Being knows no opposite. Creation is the state of being that he's pointing to as being awareness. Awareness knows no opposite. Being knows no opposite. Only here is opposition part of being real. Okay, so we read that.
Being knows no opposite. Only here is opposition, part of being real. It is the strange perception of the truth that makes the choice of the state of pure formless awareness seem to be the same. as the letting go of victimhood and suffering. It is not really so. Yet what is true is perfect love's reality, cannot enter here until it is reflected in some form the world can understand. Truth cannot come where it could only be perceived with fear. For this would be the error that truth can be brought to illusions. Opposition makes the truth unwelcome, and then it cannot come. Just saying this being, it has no opposite. It's only the world has this opposition, the duality world.
Yeah. Duality seems to be there, but actually it's not. This is the illusion. Seems to be an opposite to truth and to the state of pure formless awareness. And the world is made out of that opposition. The world is a manifestation of that state of opposition, which is why the world is so conflicted. It's why we can't make sense of it, because it is made of these two, completely opposite, contradictory ideas. And those play themselves out against each other continuously in the world. The light and the dark, we call it. That's the struggle, between those two. Now, some forms of non-duality try and reconcile this and say, well, it's all part of one. You can't separate the light and the dark. They are equally important. They're equally valid. The yin and the yang, you can't have one without the other. And somehow try and reconcile it. This is saying something different. This is saying, no, actually, there's only the light, only truth, and the error simply doesn't exist. There is no darkness in truth. The darkness is the illusion that needs to be let go of to allow the perfect light, being the state of pure formless awareness in your experience, to enter into your experience and be your only experience. Okay, so opposition makes the truth unwelcome, and then it cannot come. If we keep believing in an opposite state, we believe in victimhood and suffering and the opposite of pure formless awareness, why would we be surprised when we don't experience the state of pure formless awareness? It's hardly surprising if we believe in the opposite of it. So people go, well, I want heaven, but heaven isn't here, and I'm kind of lamenting that fact. Well, it's like, well, are you choosing it? Or are you still believing in the opposite? And if you're honest about it, you're choosing it over and over through your negative thoughts and emotions, by believing those, by honoring those. You're choosing against the state of pure formless awareness every time you do that. So how can you expect to experience that state if you keep choosing against it? This is all Yeshua's saying. It's like, not rocket science, guys. Make the right choice. Otherwise, you'll keep experiencing the illusion of some opposite to heaven, but that's not true. So today's lesson is another wake-up call to say, well, just recognize that it's a choice. And you can make that choice. In fact, you must make that choice in order to be in the state of pure formless awareness consistently. You must choose consistently for it, and therefore against the ego's thought system. So having said all this, he moves into number 3, where he presents choice as the solution to our dilemma. Can we read that?
Choice is the obvious escape from what appears as opposites. Decision allows only one of two seemingly conflicting goals to become my aim towards which I direct my time and effort. If I do not make this one decision, I will only waste time and all my efforts will be dissipated. My time will be spent for nothing in return and will go by without any real results. In this state of illusion, I will have no sense of gain, for I will accomplish and learn nothing. It's just saying choice is the obvious escape, what appears as opposites.
Hmm.
Um,
So once again, he's saying, you must decide over and over and over again. He says you must decide, and you can't reconcile these. It's one or the other. This is really the key point in this course. And he says it over and over. And yet, some people miss it. I remember once having a conversation with, no, he'd been studying the course for a long time and he was a teacher. And I was like, well, it's a choice, you have to make it. And he says, where does it say that? I'm like, only on every page of the course virtually, that you have to make this choice. That's what the course is all about. You can't choose for both because they contradict each other. So you've got to choose one or the other. And again, he's reminding us, okay, there's a choice. And I have to make that choice. And I make that choice moment by moment. So people expect some grand event. No, it's a moment by moment choice related to the situations that present themselves in your life. So you were, in traffic this morning, very ordinary experience in the modern world. And some guy's trying to get in and he's looking stressed, and you notice that and you respond in a loving, kind way. That's a choice for heaven in that moment. And it's as simple as that. And if you keep doing that, then you're choosing for pure formless awareness and against the ego. And you're choosing to leave the world. So it doesn't seem like it in the moment. Oh, well, I just chose heaven and I chose a transcendent reality. But that's exactly what you did. That's just how it played out in form.
Yeah.
And so, then it brings a sense of purpose and meaning and significance to all your choices. Okay, this is actually the ultimate choice that I'm making right here. So my life has meaning and purpose moment by moment because I'm choosing heaven and true reality, and I'm letting go of illusions. And I'm doing that moment by moment. And this is taking me in the direction I want to go. And it's bringing me, everything that's worthwhile and valuable in this life. And I'm choosing that moment by moment. Now my life starts to have meaning and purpose and significance. And I start to be inspired by this higher purpose. And if I do that moment by moment, I go more and more in the right direction, and I let go more and more of the ego and all of the pain and suffering, the misery and the meaninglessness and the sense of depression and sadness that goes with all it. I leave that all behind. And the state of inspired flow starts to become more and more my natural state, because that's how heaven translates into this world in the flow state. You understand? So flow, or miracles, whatever you want to call them, is just an expression of the state of pure formless awareness as it expresses and manifests in this world through you. It's a taster, it's a glimpse of this transcendent state that comes through you. It opens your mind to that more and more, to that awareness, and it reveals it to other people as well. And we've seen that very clearly in the example of, say, Yeshua. He brought heaven into this world in and through his actions. And people started to intuit, started to understand that transcendent state, the kingdom of heaven that he talked about, because he demonstrated it consistently in his words and his actions. And so he brought heaven into this world and helped people to access it. And that, becomes everyone's choice, and everyone who's doing this course, everyone's path to follow in his footsteps, become his true disciple and do what he did. Just it'll play out in your own way, in a modern setting, in a modern context. You're probably not going to walk around with 12 disciples and heal the sick and raise the dead. Probably won't play out that way, but who knows? Maybe it will. One doesn't know. If you go with it, you'll be guided as to how this plays out for you, how heaven manifests in and through you. And that relates us nicely to the quote that we have one shot at seeing you shine. See how it connects with today's lesson, today's quote. Sorry, your heavens Halley's comet. We have one shot at seeing you shine. Okay. So happy with number 4, Elaine? We move on.
Yeah.
Well, we did number 3. Number 4 then. I
Yeah.
need to be reminded.
Read number 4. Yeah. I need to be reminded that I think 1,000 choices are confronting me when there is really only one to make. and even this only seems to be a choice. I do not confuse myself with all the doubts that myriad decisions induces. I make only one, and when that one is made, I will perceive it was no choice at all. For truth is true, and nothing else is true. There is no opposite to choose instead. There is no contradiction to the truth. Well, it's just reminding us that, we've got thousands of choices confronting us when really there's only just one. The truth is true, and that's it. Nothing else is. There's no opposite. There's no contradiction. We make only one. So there's no...
And that's so helpful, isn't it? It's like, okay, there's only one real choice I'm making, because the ego's confused us and says, well, there's so many options and decisions.
Yeah.
You could do this, you could do that. You could go and, you could live anywhere, you could do various jobs, you could have different, special relationships. You can do all kinds of different activities, hobbies, so many choices, aren't there? And by focusing on that level, we get confused. We're like, well, what should I choose? I don't know. Could do that, could do that. Well, if I do that, and then we try and anticipate outcomes. And of course, we can't, because we can't see the future. And we get ourselves very, very confused. I'll tell you a story, actually. It's quite funny, about a guy who just graduated from, I think it was Harvard, one of the big business schools in the US. And he'd done an MBA. And so, in MBA teaching, they have this kind of decision tree rule. So you go, okay, so if this, and then there's a split. And if I did this, then I'd go there. And if I did this, then I'd go there. So this guy's mapped out now his choice of company. And he's gone, okay, well, I'm going to map this all out using the decision rule, tree tool that I've learned. And the guy wrote this, said, well, he was wondering, and he showed me his decision tree. And he had this whole, complicated thing for various options. And the company he chose using this, so-called, good way that he learned in his course, went bust 9 months after he joined it. Because he's trying to predict the future. Go, if this, and of course you can't. No one can.
No.
What you can do is you can go on intuition. Your intuition tells you. It's like, okay,
Yes.
So what does it feel? Does it feel right or not? And if he'd been able to tap into his intuition, which he obviously couldn't, because all these, that teaching had sabotaged that. It's like, no, you do it very logically. Well, it doesn't work. Logic can't do what intuition can do. So just listen, be guided, and then he might have made a better choice, and that would have been heaven, manifesting and blessing him. Otherwise, I guess his choice would have taught him something, so it wasn't wasted. It would be like, okay, well, maybe that doesn't work. Maybe there's there's another way. Now, I did a business degree. It was MBA type stuff, although it wasn't an MBA, but it was very similar to teachings. And at the end of it, when I actually started my own business, I was like, does any of this really apply? No, not really. It's what I learned was for a corporate environment, not for an entrepreneurial environment, running your own business. And none of it really applied. Didn't really help me at all. So and I realized very soon I had to chuck all that out and just go intuitively and be guided. Okay, so what does it feel like? What should I be doing here? That was a much better guide than all of that stuff that I'd spent 4 years learning. But useful to have learned it, because then you go, well, okay, it's these rigid structures that you learn aren't really that helpful. Even in business, even if I went into the corporate world, I probably would have gone, well, actually, does any of that stuff I learned really teach me, how to do this job, and really teach me the subtleties and the nuances of the corporate world and all the politics involved and, whatever else you have to learn? No, you only learn that by being in it and doing it. Okay, so let's carry on. Number 5. We're on the subject of choice. So he's exploring that. Choosing depends on learning.
choosing depends on learning, and the truth cannot be learned, but only recognized. Its acceptance lies in recognition, and as it is accepted, it is known. But the state of pure formless awareness, being knowledge, is beyond the goals Yeshua seeks to teach within the framework of this course. These are teaching goals to be attained through learning how to reach them, what they are and what they offer me. Decisions are the outcome of my learning, for they rest on what I have accepted as the truth of what I am and what my needs must be.
Okay, what's he saying in this one?
Well, it's saying choosing depends on learning. But of course, the truth can't be learned. It can only be recognized. So the acceptance lies in the recognition. So, but the pure formless awareness is being knowledge, is beyond the goals.
Decisions are the outcome of my learning, for they rest on what I've accepted. So the rubber meets the road of this course in the decisions you make moment by moment. You can't say you've learned the course if you keep deciding for the ego and going in the opposite direction from what the course is recommending. You haven't then learned it, have you? So it's how you apply it moment by moment. And these, it comes down to a decision. You're choosing a thought system and a reality with each choice. Which is profound. It's huge. Every moment you're choosing who you are. You're choosing your reality. Are you in heaven or are you in hell? Are you choosing that moment by moment, depending on which thought system you allow to govern your thoughts, words, and actions. It's a very, very practical course, this, for that reason. And he's saying as the truth is accepted, it's known. So we only learn the truth experientially. But if you don't know it, how do you come to know it? Well, you've got to make the decision for it. So, okay, I choose that. I'm open to this. Show me the experience. Yeah. The door has to be open from the inside. The willingness has to come from you. You say, okay, I'm going to choose the truth. And then I'm going to trust that the experience of the truth will come. So kind of fake it until you make it. You won't have the full experience of truth in heaven to start with, but you have a faith. You have a willingness. And so you keep making the choice, and then you allow more and more that experience to come. As Yeshua said, blessed are those who have seen and yet who have believed and yet they haven't seen. So you haven't necessarily experienced heaven, but you believe. And your belief, your faith, gets you to make the decisions which then allow the experience to come in time. And that's really what this course is helping us to do. He's building our faith by teaching us these concepts and saying, look, trust me here. And this does make a lot of sense. There's a logic to this. Trust the logic. Go with this. And then the state we call heaven of pure formless awareness is going to come more and more into your experience. You may not have it now, but trust me that you will if you carry on down this path that I'm guiding you. And we have to trust initially because we don't have that state and that experience to start with. But there's something in us that says, yes, I'll trust Yeshua, I'll trust this course, I'll follow his guidance because it feels right. It resonates with me on a deeper level. And the more you trust and the more you make the right decisions, the more that your trust is validated. You say, yes, I'm now starting to experience that which I trusted in. It's unfolding in my experience, which helps me to trust even more and go deeper into this and surrender even more. And that's how the miracles work. The more you do it, the more you see the results, the more you're inspired to do it, and you go more and more into that path and following the Holy Spirit until the ego is completely undone in that way. Quite simple, really. but it just requires that vigilance and that trust. Okay, I've got to be vigilant for my mind and my decisions, and I've got to keep trusting in the Holy Spirit that, if I keep choosing correctly, even though in this world often it seems to be a counterintuitive choice to the egos, it's opposite. But if I keep doing that and I trust, then it's all going to be okay. It's going to work out. Even when the world and other people are saying, you're crazy, you're mad, no, don't do this, listen instead to the ego. And I've had that. And anyone really who's followed this path for a while has probably had that. There's always voices in your mind and in your life, other people going, oh, what are you doing? That's crazy. Don't do it that way. You're mad.
Or just
Come
like
back
little,
come back to normality. So, why are you being weird? It's just be normal. Just be like everyone else. But there's something in you that says I can't, because being normal in this world, being like everyone else, is the ego. I can't believe that thought system anymore. I can't fit into that. There's something in me that says no. I've got to decide against that. I've got to make another choice now. I'm tired, because I'm tired of suffering. And people who are, recommending the ego, you have to look at them and say, well, are you living a life that I aspire to live? Would I like to be like you?
as you
And then
rightly say, it's
inevitably,
all right if it's all going
huh?
hunky-dory and you're young. But
Hmm.
as you rightly say, as we get older, then you're coming to, to your to death. It's the
Yeah.
truth.
Yeah.
If you're in the ego,
Yeah.
yeah. So what? Yeah, it just all seems a bit pointless saving up and doing all this and the other.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously
So,
those
if
that,
someone's younger, you'd say, they'd say, oh, no, no, well, it's working for me. But okay, but you're only 30 or 40. Okay, but like when you're 60 or 70, is that
yes,
thought system still going to work for you?
it's
Let's play
totally
it out
different.
another 30 years.
Yeah, which for me, what I am 62 now and 32, totally different. Yeah, totally
Hmm.
different. Yeah.
Your mindset shifts dramatically. As it
Hmm.
should. Like when you in the morning of your life, as Wayne Dyer calls it, you have a different set of values and priorities.
Yeah.
Everything is, you're now on the ego's track generally, and it's about really
Yes.
worldly stuff. It's about, oh well,
It is.
I want
Holidays. Yeah. Yeah.
holidays, I want a career, jobs, money, special relationships, family. I'm getting myself jacked into the world. That's what people are
Yes.
doing for the first half generally.
Hmm.
And then they hit midlife, in maybe 40s, late 30s, 40s, 50, and they've been doing that, for their entire life. And they're going, it's not working for me. I hit some kind
Hmm.
of a crisis called a midlife crisis. It's like,
Yeah.
what is the meaning of it all? What's the purpose? And I'm doing all this stuff, and yet I'm not happy. The world's told me that if I did all of this, I would be happy, but I'm not. Even though I may have done this all, and I may have on the surface of it the perfect life. 2.5 kids, married in the suburbs, a holiday home, a good job, and yet
It's,
it's not doing it for me. It's empty.
no, there's just this undercurrent, even though they live in a happy family and everything seems to have worked out for them. They haven't had too many tragedies, but underneath there's a undercurrent of um, untruth, if you know what I mean.
Mm. And dissatisfaction. This is what the Buddha
Yeah.
knows. That if you're not in the truth, then you are in dukkha, he called it, which is suffering, or most accurately translated, it's probably dissatisfaction. It's a
Mm.
dissatisfaction with life. It's like I'm not really actually that satisfied. I'm not that happy. And so I have to seek some kind of resolution to that unhappiness in the world.
So they go to cruises and lots of
Yeah. So
holidays,
I go on holidays, and I
buy new
uh,
things.
buy new things, and I get a new job, and maybe I have another special relationship or relationships, or I do
Mm.
substances, I use substances, whatever, to try and compensate for that dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
And until you realize that, there's only one way of doing that, and that's to choose heaven. That dissatisfaction is symptomatic of your disconnection from heaven and your source. That's the problem. The only way of healing that is to make the decision to reunite with your source and to choose heaven. That's the only way out of the dissatisfaction. There's no other way. And you can try all the other ways, which is generally what we do, and that, that's the ego's way. But eventually we realize it's not going to work.
Out. You just run out. Yeah.
You've tried everything and it hasn't worked. Then, that disillusionment is essential to bring you to the spiritual path. Because if you still think the ego is going to work, then you'll keep trying it. So there's a Zen saying, it says disillusionment must precede enlightenment for a reason. You must be totally disillusioned with the ego and its ways, all of its ways, before you really become open to heaven. Okay, it hasn't worked. There's got to be another way, which maybe looks completely differently. It looks completely different to what I thought it looked. And then I'm open to it. My suffering in pursuing the ego cracks me open and opens me up to the spirit and making the choice for heaven. And that's its only purpose. All right, so number 6.
In this insanely complicated world, the state of pure formless awareness appears to take the form of choice rather than merely being what it is. Of all the choices I have tried to make, this is the simplest, most definitive, and prototype of all the rest, the one which settles all decisions. If I could decide the rest, this one remains unresolved. But when I unsolved. But when I solve this one, the others will be resolved with it. For all decisions only conceal this one by taking different forms. Here is the final and only choice in which I accept or deny the truth. It's letting us know that this insane, complicated world, the state of pure formless awareness, appears to take the form of choice rather than merely being what it is. So all the choices we've tried to make, this is the simplest, most definitive of all of them. And it settles all decisions. So if I could decide the rest, this one remains unsolved. But when you solve this one, the others will be resolved with it. So our final, so it's really our final only choice. So we either accept or deny the truth.
You'll either accept that there is another reality, we call heaven, another state of mind, of being that's beyond this world, or you deny it. It's as simple as that. If you accept it, then it's a profoundly different kind of experience that you're inviting in this world. And if you deny it again, you're then condemning yourself to the body and this world. Imagine if you said, this world is all there is. This world is reality. Very, very different mindset, thought system, and set of choices that unfold from that, compared with, no, this world isn't reality. Actually, there is a transcendent reality we call heaven, and that's the choice I must make for that reality, and therefore I renounce the world. I let go of the world to accept heaven. Fundamentally different, opposite realities. How can you reconcile those? You can't. They're different realities. And so we see that split playing out, all the time in the world. The ego's thought system says this is the reality and there's nothing else. And it denies heaven, and heaven says, no, this is all illusion. Only heaven is real. But it's a deeper choice. It's what's been covered over, the state of pure formless awareness has just been covered over by all of these illusions. And the various choices that you think you have in this world are part of that illusory construct. That's why it's a veil of illusion. It covers it over. That state is there, but it's covered over with this heavy, thick, dense blanket of the ego's negative thoughts and emotions. And the only point of those negative emotions and thoughts and the world that stimulates them is to cover over the state of pure formless awareness. And when I had that realization experientially after my sort of mystic experience to 9 days of the Vipassana retreat, it's like, oh, I get it. It's like the penny drop. Oh, I get it. It's like the whole course suddenly made sense to me. Oh, I see. You know what I mean? A simple insight. It took me years and years and years of practicing and trying to understand. And then it finally came. And that one moment, it's like a download. It was like, oh, I get it. That's why it's called a veil of illusion, because it's designed to cover over that state that I've just experienced. The whole world is just the cover over that. Ah, that's why it's the veil of illusion or Maya. It covers it over. It's like a heavy blanket. And the world's only purpose of the world is to do that, is to cover the state of pure formless awareness over. Ah, I get it. Now I see why the world and my inner state are completely connected. See, the world is a projection of the thought system of separation that covers it over. And now it's designed to stimulate that thought system so that that covering can continue and in fact get denser and denser and keep me in this illusion forever and keep the state of pure formless awareness away from my awareness. That's the whole point of the ego's world. Ah, now I'm starting to wake up, aren't I? I'm getting the program. I'm seeing how it really works. And those kinds of insights then help you to make the correct choice. You know, why would I choose, you know, that dense covering over the state of pure formless awareness when I could just choose that awareness, which was so beautiful. Just words can't do it justice. Just perfection in that moment. Nothing's missing, nothing's lacking. I'm whole, I'm complete. And there's not even those thoughts of being whole and complete. It just is. You're just in that state, and there's no self to even be aware of it. That's the state of heaven, pure formless
really,
awareness.
from that point onwards, that was then you knew it rather than believed it. And so that's how it's...
I'd say, there was an experiential knowing in that moment. Up to that point, I was believing it. It was like, oh, I'm believing this, and I'm doing the work, and I'm practicing the course, and I'm listening, and kind of getting it. Yeah, I have faith, I believe, but do I know? No, I don't think I did. No.
No.
But you know, that experience was like, oh, that's knowledge. I know because I've had the experience. Even a momentary experience. It was very short, maybe a few minutes of my life. But
that was enough.
Just having that experience then changes you forever, because you know, having experience, you're never going to be the same again because you've been in that state. And although, you know, I'm not in that state most of the time, there's a connection to it. There's an awareness of it. And then that awareness comes through, and that awareness permeates through your life. And so you make different choices and different decisions. And interestingly, very soon after that experience, like literally within about a week, I started the Arts of Letting Go course. That was the first really proper one we did, where John and Sue joined, and Kim, actually. So 3 of the original are still on the course and program. And then, you know, that led to Sally joining, and the whole thing kind of started growing organically. If I hadn't had that experience, would it have happened? Probably not in the same way. But it was all, you know, this is where you go, well, there's some kind of defined purpose to it all. You know, it all just unfolded, and I wasn't really in charge of the process. I had to make a choice to go and do that retreat, for sure. So that was the choice for heaven. Now, I could have chosen to engage in a horrible fight with a lawyer and stolen money from me, or I could have chosen, you know, to do the retreat. That was the choice. So I chose heaven, being the state of pure formless awareness, by doing the retreat. And, you know, the result was profoundly different experience from what I would have had if I'd stayed away from the retreat and I chose to pursue the money instead. It was a, you know, and that, so that choice, when I said, okay, I'm going to let go of that worldly attachment to the money, and there was a choice for heaven, then had, you know, the profound consequences of helping me to become experientially aware of heaven. And then that's influenced everything since. And this whole unfolding community, and, you know, everything I've done, and the ability to teach this on a higher level than I could have. It's all part of that choice that I made for heaven in that moment. And that's how this stuff works. You know, I didn't think in that moment that I was choosing the state of pure formless awareness. I was like, no, I'd feel okay, you know, let go of the money, take the lawyer's offer, even though it's, you know, 140,000 rand less. But I'm making the right choice. It felt right, and so I did it. And then, you know, these things play out to reveal that, you know, I did make the right choice, and that state is correct. Yeah. Okay, and on the level of form, actually, I got an opportunity in that retreat at the end, because I met someone there. That's still playing out. It may well lead to you know, a whole lot of money at some point, or it may not. I don't know. But you know, I didn't do it, you know, for any monetary reason. I did it because it felt right, and that's how you know you're choosing the state of pure formless awareness. You're choosing heaven, because it just feels right. Okay, so happy to go on to number 7. So I begin today considering the choice that time is there to help everyone make.
So I begin today considering the choice that time is there to help everyone make. This is its innocent purpose, now transformed from the purpose I gave it, which was to be a means for demonstrating victimhood and suffering are real, that hope is denied by despair, and life itself must in the end be overcome by death. Opposites are resolved in death alone. For ending opposition is to die, and so I must perceive freedom as death, for life is seen as conflict. To resolve the conflict is to end my life as well.
Okay, thoughts on that?
Well, it's saying to start today with to choose that time is there to help everyone. And it's an innocent purpose. So, and it's there was to be a means of demonstrating victimhood and suffering is real. So hope is denied by despair, and life itself must be the end by overcome by death. So it's saying opposites are resolved in death alone. So ending opposition.
Yeah, this is the ego's thought system.
Freedom is the death. So to resolve the conflict.
Clarify that. My belief in separation wants me to believe on my separate self. My separate self wants me to believe that opposites are resolved in death alone. For ending opposition is to die. So really what he's talking about here is the desire for suicide. What does the ego say? Well, just get out, you know, just kill yourself, kill your body, and that will resolve the conflict, whatever your problem is. So I must perceive freedom as death, for life is seen as conflict. To resolve the conflict is to end my life as well. And it's quite an important point he's raising here, because this, I mean, I think we've all thought about suicide. Let's be honest about it. Is there anyone who hasn't thought about suicide? Probably pretty much every human being who's lived longer than a few years. I mean, even Eckhart Tolle was saying at the age of 6, he was thinking about suicide.
Oh,
He was
right.
so unhappy.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then they said, well, I remember we moved to a new place, and it was an apartment, and there was a kind of a fire escape, the back, several floors up. And he said, well, I remember thinking when I was 6, oh, well, that's good, because I can always commit suicide by throwing myself off the, off or go outside and just, end it there. I mean, he's having these thoughts at 6.
He was very
Some
advanced. He
kids,
was
some kids,
obviously a very, very advanced thinker, wasn't he?
well, he was very miserable. He was, his ego was very heavy, even at the age of 6. So,
Very
so the
concept.
ego
Yeah, it's
strategy is,
obviously
well, just
very.
get out, end your life, just
Mm,
end it, and that's going to resolve your conflict. But it's again, being the ego, we know it's not going to work, because nothing it recommends, ever does work, because you haven't really resolved the conflict, because the conflict is within your own mind. Killing the body hasn't really done anything. You haven't resolved the conflict internally. And so the split remains in your mind. Your mind is, because your mind cannot be really die, it's eternal. You come back, you reincarnate, in other words, another body, another lifetime, and you have the same split to deal with in another life, except now you have the karma of having committed suicide as well. And you'll probably feel some guilt at that, because you inevitably abandoned various people, special relationships in the dream. You said, I can't hack it, I can't do it. So I'll just, end it, and I'll leave you to pick up the pieces, basically, because someone's got to pick up the pieces of that. And he's saying, okay, this is what the ego might tell you, but it's not going to work, so don't listen to it. These mad beliefs, so what is he saying? It's just mad. Suicide is an insane belief. It's not going to work. But let's address it, let's look at it. And it's probably something that, it's not talked about very much, I think, in course circles. Because it's like, well, suicide's a bit infant, we don't want to go there. It's a bit too kind of close to home. But I think we have to, because we've all had these thoughts. And, if you bring it into the light of true awareness and you go, okay, let's really look at it. What he's saying here is it's not going to work. Right? It's just a mad belief. These mad beliefs can gain unconscious hold of great intensity and grip my mind with terror and anxiety so strong that it will not let go of its ideas about its own protection. And this is why people may actually do it. You have to be in quite an intense grip of the ego to actually go so far as to take your own life and actually do it.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on. Must be saved from awakening.
It must be saved from awakening, threatened to be safe and magically armored against truth. And these decisions are made unaware to keep them safely undisturbed and apart from questioning reason and doubt.
Yeah, so made unaware or made unconscious, maybe. And that's what would be a better. Decisions are made unconscious to keep them safely undisturbed and apart from questioning reason and doubt. So it just seems to be happening, and I don't know that I'm actually consciously making them. And so these patterns that she says can be really intense, just play out. And this is why people do commit suicide, or they do harmful, destructive things. Addictions. I mean, everything is a version of suicide, isn't it? You might not do it straight away, but let's say you're doing hard drugs or you're smoking, drinking. It's a form of suicide. You're trying to kill yourself, aren't you? Just the speed of it is various. Might take years. If you do it through alcohol and cigarettes, it might take 20 years. If you do it through a hard drug like heroin, it might take 2 or 3 years. It's just, or you could do it instantly and throw yourself off a building. But it's really the same decision that's playing out. The decision to kill yourself, which, as he says, is really magically armoring you against the truth. You're actually denying the truth.
Right. Mm-hmm.
In doing that, you're saying, my way out is death. But that's not true. Your way out is changing your mind. That's the way out. And you can only do that while you're still alive, because you have to deal with all of the stuff that's still there, your karma. You have to deal with it. And you come here into this world to deal with it. This is the best place to deal with it, because it gets projected out for you onto the holographic screen of your life so that you can see it and you can experience it and you can become consciously aware. Okay, well, this is my program. This is what I'm dealing with, because it's playing out in my life experience. So that's very helpful if you see it correctly. You're in exactly the right place and reality to awaken. That's what it's for. So don't sabotage the process and try and leave prematurely. It's like, you've got to graduate from school. You can't get out of school by going, oh, well, I'll just drop out. Suicide's like, I'll just drop out of school. This is saying, no, you've got to, continue and finish the program, finish the course, so that when you finally graduate, you've actually learned the course. Graduation would be like awakening. Okay, I get it. I've learned this. And now when my body finally goes, it'll go naturally, organically. I'll just die of old age or whatever else takes me out. The Peace Pilgrim had a car accident. These things happen. But she had, and she'd gone through a process and she was maybe ready to go. That was her exit. Okay, so any questions about that? Quite a deep topic, but he's addressing it here.
Yes.
So
yes, getting right down to the core. Mm-hmm.
And so you can choose heaven and remain in the world for a while. Now, I used to think, well, to choose heaven, you've got to kind of end it and just leave. I mean, it's very tempting. Well, just leave. This place is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. And there's only just pain and suffering and misery and death here. So just, end it. Why not just end it now and go back to heaven? Surely that would be the simplest, solution to this ridiculous problem. But that's not going to work, because if you end it prematurely, you haven't learned your lesson, then you're not going to go to heaven. You're still going to be in the split mind, i.e. in hell. The ego is still playing itself out in your mind, and you haven't healed that. So guess what? With a split mind, you come back into this world and you have another life, because that's what a split mind demands. You another human life. So you haven't used your life for what it was for, which is to heal your mind completely. So you abandon the mission too soon, prematurely, and then you're going to have to do it again. And now you've got the added karma of having committed suicide and probably some guilt because of that. Because you basically gone, well, I can't hack it, so I'm just going to end it and leave someone else to pick up the pieces. Because inevitably, suicide is going to hurt other people who in this life. We all have special relations.
The loved ones, yeah, of course.
Yeah, it's going to hurt them. Obviously, they're going to go like, oh, now they've got to deal with the fallout from that. And you could say, well, that's your lesson, okay?
The animals are lucky, because you never hear of an animal committing suicide.
Well, interesting that you mentioned that, because Lynn had an experience where maybe one did.
Oh.
You missed that call, yeah. I'm sure she wouldn't mind me sharing it. So she had an experience where this cat, she was house sitting, and the cat jumped out of the first floor window. The cat was elderly. It's got kind of problems with its legs, and it's got cancer, so it's having chemotherapy. And it's like, well, maybe the cat just wanted to end it. Who knows?
Right.
Why would it jump out of the first floor window? That's really high, like 10 meters above the ground. Why would it do that?
There you go, yes. Oh, they're not silly, the animals. Yeah, no, because I know,
Well, maybe it's just trying to end it, saying, okay, well, I'll just,
I'm sure, yeah.
I'm tired of this. I'm suffering. The chemo is obviously it's having an effect. Its hair's falling out and it's suffering. And maybe it knows, look, the writing's on the wall here. I'm gonna die anyway.
Right.
So why not just, hasten my death and jump out? And it's like, well,
So in that
maybe,
case,
but I don't know. You can only
because this is where
speculate.
the ego mind, it's very confusing, like the coming back, you're saying that we reincarnate to do it all over again. So will that cat have to come back because of his jumping out of the window
Well,
and taking its
I
life?
don't know.
So yeah,
It
it's all
didn't actually. It
that
didn't
bit's
succeed.
confusing.
Fortunately, the cat survived. It was
Oh, it
okay.
survived. Oh, poor
Survived,
thing.
yeah. Yeah, it was okay. But it did it. And so now Lynn, was like, well, I have to keep all the windows closed because it may just jump out. I don't know. All the upstairs windows in the house. But you can only speculate. Well, why did it do that? Cats generally don't jump out of first floor windows
No, no,
because the
no. They,
cat's kind of, well, that's it's quite high for me. A 10-meter drop,
yeah, yeah,
is high. A few meters is generally for cats okay with 3, 4, 5 meters, but 10 meters or maybe it was even higher is, starting to get like, well, I'm going to land and it's going to hurt me. So why would it do it?
So, but why is
Because it
the owner
wanted, maybe
giving?
it's just tired of
Why
suffering.
why would the owner put the poor cat through all this chemo? That's a bit sort of,
I
yeah.
would
That's a
answer
bit.
that. Well, because the one wants to preserve the cat's life because it's very attached to the cat, I
Oh,
guess,
well,
because
yes, of
chemo
course.
is going
Yeah,
to
no,
cost
no,
a
I
lot.
understand that. Yeah, of course. Yeah, because we love our pets, but it's just
So,
it's really quite cruel in a way. But
yeah, well,
I appreciate
maybe
what you're
just
saying. Of course, you want to prolong their life, of course. But yeah, there's
well, do you? That's the question. I mean, a cat, fortunately, I mean, in some ways, animals can be put down. Humans can't. That's murder in our
mm,
legal system. An animal, it's fine to put them down. You're
it
like,
is.
well, if someone is really suffering, just like an animal, why not put them out of their misery? And this is a
Yeah.
whole other area of conversation, euthanasia, the ethics of that. Because then you see in the scientific materialist paradigm, it's like this is your only life, right? If you believe that this is reality and that your being, your consciousness expires with your body, when your brain dies, you die, then you will preserve life at all costs, won't you? Because this is it. This is life. And when that's gone, then you have nothing. So cling to life because it's better than non-existence. That's kind of where it's coming from.
Mm,
But if you understand that, life is eternal, that, your mind carries on, your spirit is eternal,
deathless.
uh,
Yeah.
you're deathless, then what are you clinging on to life in this world for? Doesn't make any sense. You're suffering, you're at end of life stage, you realize, well, the body is not going to heal. The body is going one way. The body's going down to death. So, I could try and preserve the body for a little bit longer and prolong the suffering, or I could just end it. Okay, well, then maybe euthanasia is the right choice. Then
Mm,
in that instance, maybe heaven would the choice for heaven would be to, to leave the body and not
mhm.
suffer unduly. But you'd be guided by the Holy Spirit in that.
Yeah.
But if you still, your body's still well and strong and fit and healthy, relatively so, and then you've probably still got lessons to learn. It's probably, premature to go, okay, well, I'll just end my life because I'm tired of the illusion when I've got the body's still very functional and can be used by the spirit in this world to do its work would be premature, generally speaking. I mean, people would need guidance on this, but I think his guidance here, what the Holy Spirit's saying, is pretty clear here. He's saying, this is a mad belief to think that the conflict will be ended by death, i.e., taking your own life. Suicide is a mad belief. That's not going to work. Okay, so yeah, some interesting ideas, conversations, which I think are useful to have. It's not a topic, suicide's not a topic that most people are comfortable discussing. And in course context, it's not something I've heard many course teachers discuss, but we have. And I think his teaching on it is pretty clear here. You know, it's that it's not going to work. It's just another and this is how the ego works. It's saying, "Oh well, I'll get you to heaven. Just leave this world, terminate the body, and you'll go to heaven." But you know, it's spurious. It's another deception of the ego. It's actually not, because it's not going to work. So in the name of heaven, it's asking you to kill yourself, and then it's going to deceive you and go, "Oh well, actually, that didn't work."
Mm.
So don't believe anything the ego says,
Mm-hmm.
basically, because it's a liar and it's a deceiver. And it's going to use anything it can possibly use to trick you into believing in it, and it's gonna betray that trust. You know, so let's say you did it, you would probably go, "Oh, that was the worst thing I ever did." On the other side, it's like, well, I sabotaged
You've
my
got to
my
go back,
awakening
yeah.
process, and actually I've got to go back now, and I've got to then start again. Pretty much, you reset. So then, you're in your next life, you're going to forget everything. You're going to be a child, and you're going to have to learn and grow and go through all of that learning again to come again to the point sometime in your life where, okay, this isn't working for me. And then the
Yeah,
spiritual journey unfolds, and then you might be tempted to commit suicide again. And, maybe we've done that many times. You
yeah.
commit suicide. Did you ever watch the movie Groundhog Day?
Yes,
It was quite good
yes.
because
Oh,
they
yeah.
dealt with that quite well there. So he was caught up in Groundhog Day. Yeah, it's the same day over and over, and he's just like, "Oh my God, get me out of here." So hey, I'll commit suicide. That'll get me out.
Mm-hmm.
And then he commits suicide. He's like, "Oh, do it." And he wakes up the next morning. It's like, "Oh, I'm back. And nothing's
Oh,
really changed." It didn't work. And he does it a few times, if you recall. He tries suicide a
yes.
few times. It's like, it doesn't work. I'm back. I'm still back at Groundhog Day. And that's spiritually, there's a lesson there. It's like, that's not going to work. You'll just come back another life, and you're caught up in the same stuff. And the only thing that got him out was changing his mind. When he let go of his ego and his separate self and started living his life in a way that was truly helpful to others, and in other words, being loving and kind, that's what got him out of Groundhog Day, wasn't it? Then he woke up and was like, "Oh, now finally I've learned my lesson. I can move on." It is the 2nd of January, or the 2nd of whatever, February it was. Thank God. I can move on. But I had to learn the lesson in the world. Suicide didn't work. So there's a great teaching, a deeper teaching in that movie as well. And it's one of our, I think it's still coming up in the program. It's one of the movies I recommend watching as part of the program. Okay, so we've done number 8, yeah. So number 9, heaven is chosen consciously. State of pure formless awareness is chosen consciously.
The state of pure formless awareness is chosen consciously. The choice cannot be made until alternatives are accurately seen and understood. I must raise everything that is veiled in negative awareness to understanding to be judged again, this time with the help of pure formless awareness. And all mistakes in judgment that the mind has made before are open to correction, as the truth dismisses them as causeless. Now they are without effects. They cannot be concealed because their nothingness is recognized.
Yeah.
Well, it's saying the state of pure formless awareness is chosen consciously, but it can't be made until it's understood. So we must raise everything that is veiled in negative awareness to the understanding. and to be judged again, this time with the help of the pure formless awareness. But then all the mistakes and judgment made by the mind will be open to correction as the truth dismisses them as causeless. Now they're without effects. And then it's open. Well, it cannot be concealed because their nothingness is recognized.
Yeah, let's make that short. So all my mind's previous errors in judgment will then be open to correction as the truth dismisses them as causeless. So you look on all these errors, we've all made mistakes, and you go, but actually none of them mean anything. They were never really done, right? They were done in a dream by a false identity that isn't even real. And so they're causeless. They have no cause, therefore they have no consequence. You know, now they are without effect. If there's no cause, then there's no effect. And so you undo this whole system of cause and effect, which is karma. In the East, they call it karma, yeah? Cause, effect. I think something, I say something, I do something, cause, effect, the effects play out. And now you are undoing that whole program of cause and effect. And if there's no cause and no effect, then there's no time. Yeah, cause, what separates cause from effect is time. Do you see that? It has to play out on a linear timeline, which is what keeps time going. So let's look at the timeline of consciousness. And you know, this demonstrates it. So you're collapsing this timeline. You collapse cause and effect. You collapse the need for time. No cause, no effect. I go into the timeless state of pure formless awareness of perfect love that transcends the illusion of linear time. And I remain there. Even while these effects seem to play out in my life on one level, I remain rooted in this awareness, pure formless awareness of perfect love. I.e., I'm in a heavenly state of mind while these events and circumstances seem to be playing out in my life. But I'm making the decision for heaven moment by moment whenever I let go of these and I deny the causation of the ego and therefore of time. And I go back into a true cause, which is pure formless awareness of perfect love. And then time collapses. And the illusions cannot be concealed anymore because their nothingness is recognized. So when I can see that all of this, whatever happens on the timeline, to me, the separate self is just illusion, none of it has any true cause because it's all just the false belief in separation playing itself out. Therefore, none of the effects are real. Then I'm free to restore my mind to pure formless awareness of perfect love, in which there is no time because there's no cause and effect. It's nothing. There are no events that happen. It's the same awareness. So I go into that timeless, infinite state, and I can stay there even while all these events and time play out. Just, I'm not bothered by them. I'm not affected by them. The state of pure formless awareness becomes my choice. Okay? Happy to move on to number 10.
Yeah. The conscious choice of the state of pure formless awareness is as sure as the ending of the fear of victimhood and suffering, as when it is raised from its protective shield of unawareness and brought to true awareness. Who can decide between the clearly seen and the unrecognized? Yet who can fail to make a choice between alternatives when only one is seen as valuable and the other as wholly worthless thing, just an imagined source of guilt and pain? Who hesitates to make a choice like this? And I shall hesitate to make this choice today.
Shall I hesitate? That's a question. Shall I
And
hesitate?
shall I? Yeah, sorry, yeah, I'm saying I will hesitate. No.
Oh.
And shall
So
I
he's using
hesitate?
questions. There's 3 questions. You know. who can fail to make a choice between these alternatives when only one is seen as valuable and the other is a wholly worthless thing? Well, obviously you would make the choice for what is valuable.
Yes.
He hesitates to make a choice this. And shall I hesitate to make this choice today? So when you make a choice for heaven, you're making this choice for fundamental reality, a fundamentally different self, fundamentally different reality that's beyond this world. And, that's how profound the choice is. And that brings a meaning, a deeper meaning and significance to all of your seemingly trivial, meaningless choices. You made a choice today to let someone into traffic instead of cut him off. That seems to be, well, so what? Very insignificant. I'll never see the guy again. Who cares? But, from this framework, this perspective, it's very significant because you chose an entirely different self and different reality in that moment. You chose heaven in that moment to leave the world behind and find love and peace and joy for yourself and everyone else, rather than the ego's thought system, sickness, pain, suffering, misery, and death in that moment. And you can do that, repeatedly over and over. That's what he's saying. Consciously. So when you raise the ego, it's the fear of victimhood and suffering is when it is raised from its protective shield of unawareness and brought to true awareness. So you got to look at the victimhood and the suffering clearly. Look at the ego's thought system. See it for what it is clearly, and you cannot choose it. Only the insane could choose victimhood and suffering. And you realize that that's what you're choosing. It's just raised from its protective shield of unawareness and brought to true awareness. And that's what these lessons do really well, don't they? They're like, okay, so let's really look at it. We can't gloss over it. Let's really look at this so that we can get to the crux of the matter. We can really see the ego, and then inevitably we'll make the right choice. Because when you see the insanity of it, and then it's really so hurtful and there's no hope in it, who would hesitate to make the choice for heaven? That's what he's saying. So he gives us the logic and a process we work through in these lessons very well. And then he's saying, well, okay, the choice is yours, but in your right mind, why would you hesitate to make this choice that I'm offering to you?
Because there's still
Why would
things
you
people
choose
like.
hell over heaven?
Yeah, because there's things that people still like in the world. That's why they keep choosing the other.
And the mind training, see, that's why it's so essential to do the course. Because if you don't understand this, if you don't understand what reality is and how it really works, you'll make the wrong choice over and over again, won't you? If your framework of reality is false, you'll keep making the wrong choice because that's what that framework dictates. Oh, I think I'm a body and I just have this life in this world. Well, then I'm going to make certain set of choices accordingly. I'm going to choose the world. I'm going to choose to seek pleasure. I'm going to choose material comforts because that's all I think I have. That's what life is for, from that framework of reality, isn't it? And that's why we've created such a hedonistic, materialistic world based on a paradigm of, well, this is all there is. It's just, my separate self. And what's in it for my separate self? What can I get out of life? And we've created a social construct based on that thought system, which is why we see the kinds of behaviors, in society, repeated over and over again by millions of people, because that's the belief system that underlies it. That belief system must be brought to question. This is what he's saying. You must look at it and go, is that really the truth? Or is it just, a false belief system that's leading you down the garden path to inevitable pain, suffering, misery, and death? We've got to really look at that and understand how this current de facto ego system works in order to make a better choice. And that's what he does in these lessons so well. And you have to kind of go through it. You might say, well, what he's saying is really simple. Yes, it is. But when you start out on this path, you need to go through these lessons to really understand, don't you? Otherwise, you're going to keep believing in your ego's vision of the world, and you're not going to be able to make the choice for heaven. Okay, so I make the choice for heaven or the state of pure formless awareness. You want to read an alternative?
I make the choice for the state of pure formless awareness as I wake up, and I spend 5 minutes making sure that I have made the one decision that is sane. I recognize I make a conscious choice between what has existence and what has nothing but an appearance of the truth. Its pseudo being brought to what is real.
Pseudo being.
Pseudo
Which
being.
means false. Pseudo means it's false. It's not real. It's an illusion.
Brought to what is real is flimsy, transparent in true awareness. It holds no terror now for what was made enormous, vengeful, and pitiless, and hate demands obscurity for fear to be invested there. Now I recognize my previous choice as just a foolish, trivial mistake. Let's just say we can make the choice now for a state of pure formless awareness and wake up. So it's asking us to spend some time, well, 5 minutes, making sure we have made the one decision that is sane. We'll make a conscious choice between what has existence, what has nothing but appearances, but an appearance of the truth. It holds no terror now for what was made enormous. Just saying, now we recognize the choice we made before is foolish and a trivial mistake.
A tiny mad idea, right? A silly error. That's what this world is. A tiny mad idea of separation that's got blown out of all proportion into an insane alternative self, identity, and reality that we've believed in. And yet it's just a foolish, trivial mistake. How can you not be what you are? That's the mistake. Oh, I can be separate from what I am. I mean, like, how's that possible? If you are as God created you, you are this awareness, stated in our alternative language. You are this pure formless awareness of perfect love. And that's not optional. You can't not be what you are. So you just made a crazy mistake, foolish, trivial mistake in choosing to be something else. And your life here in this world is just a product of that foolish, trivial mistake. And so this enormous, overblown construct of the ego, of a separate self living in a body and a world and all the drama that goes on here and the pain and the suffering and the sickness and the misery and the death and the trauma is just recognized as one tiny mad idea, a foolish, trivial mistake, which I can correct by letting it go as it shows up. And it shows up, all the time, doesn't it? Okay, so I've got some guilt going on. I've got some fear. I've got some attack thoughts. This is how it shows up. Okay, but it's the same mistake. Let it go. It's not real. Its cause isn't real. Its consequences aren't real. Deny it. Deny the denial of truth, and you're back in the truth. You're back in the state of pure formless awareness if you deny everything that seems to contradict it. Remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, and what reveals itself is love's presence. States it another way. Very simple. So that's why letting go then becomes key. Identifying the blocks and then letting them go is the key to reawakening to this original state of pure formless awareness, which is still there, but it's just been covered over. The ego tells you it's been destroyed and you're guilty for that choice, but it hasn't been destroyed. So how can you be guilty if you haven't actually done it? You see, the ego is spurious. Look at it. Look at this diagram again. So the ego tells you you've really done it, you've really destroyed love, and now you're guilty for this terrible sin of destroying God, love, oneness, pure formless awareness. Except the Holy Spirit says you haven't destroyed it. You can't destroy that which is eternal. It's not possible. So what are you feeling guilty for? You never did it. So let go of the illusion that you're guilty for a crime you couldn't commit. It's not possible. Drop all of this. And then none of the consequences of guilt and sin need happen. You don't need to fear punishment if you're not guilty. And you don't need to have a fearful, wrathful, separate God punishing you if you're not guilty. You don't need accusation, blame, and attack in all of your special relationships if you're not guilty. None of it now is needed. Do you see that? You just collapse it at first principles by going, that tiny mad idea, that, as he calls it, foolish, trivial mistake is just that. Actually, you're still pure formless awareness of perfect love. That hasn't changed, and you just need to let go of everything else that tells you otherwise and restore your mind to this awareness. Simple. And what seemingly was terrifying, you look at this whole system, looked at with unawareness, it's absolutely terrifying, isn't it? Oh my God, I'm this little separate self, and I'm now inevitably going to be attacked, and I'm going to suffer in this world, and I'm going to die, and I've got to try and find some meaning in this chaos and this craziness. And so I try and find that in, trivial pursuits. Seek special relationships. I seek love in this world. I seek pleasure. I seek possessions. I seek money. I seek something to try and make the insanity of this worthwhile. And I will fail time and time again because none of it is true. Only pure formless awareness of perfect love or heaven is true. So, I'm going to start making the choice for that in order to realize this. Okay? I'll read the last one before I close my eyes and sleep tonight.
Before I close my eyes and sleep tonight, I reaffirm the choice that I have made each hour today. And now I give the last 5 minutes of my waking day to the decision with which I awoke. As every hour passed, I have declared my choice again in a brief, quiet time devoted to maintaining sanity. And finally, I close the day with this, acknowledging I choose only what I want. I must decide for pure formless awareness. I make this decision now and will not change my mind because it is the only thing I really want.
Very clear. I love about this course. Okay, he's talking about the mystical state, but he's saying, I choose it. You can and you must choose it. And I make this decision now and will not change my mind because it's the only thing I really want. And then the Holy Spirit guides you as to how that decision looks moment by moment in this world. It might look like a kind word or gesture as you did this morning for the man in traffic. It might look like, well, I'm going to join a live session like you've done this afternoon. It might look like I'm going to just be quiet and meditate, or I'm going for a walk with my dogs, or I'm not going to react to any triggers going on in your immediate environment. If there's difficulty, I'm not going to react to it. Just it plays out differently in different situations.
Mm.
But it's the same decision. That's what he's asking us to see. It's always the same decision. It's just the form of it is seemingly different. So don't be confused by the different forms. Understand that it's really the same decision. As the ego is always the same decision. However that plays out, it's got a myriad ways of playing, many ways of playing out, but it's the same decision. And so then you don't get confused anymore. So okay, there's only two choices. It's very, very simple. Life is simple. There's two choices. They don't reconcile. If I choose one, I must renounce the other. That's how it works. It's a binary choice. So let me understand this and make the correct choice, which is for pure formless awareness, and therefore to renounce the world, relinquish the world of form and time and space and everything that goes on here, because pure formless awareness is beyond that. It's formless awareness. That's why we change the language, because heaven is like, well, what does that actually mean? It's a state of pure formless awareness, right? The words tell you what it is. It's pure, so there's no other thought going on. There's nothing else. It's completely formless. So anything in form, if you're desiring or attaching to anything in form, clearly that's not formless awareness. You're in awareness of form still. So the word tells you what heaven is, doesn't it? Which is why we do the translations. So choose this pure formless awareness, i.e. renounce your attachment to form, however that's playing out, and you're choosing heaven. Very simple, very direct teaching. Now, can you practice this for the rest of your life? Moment by moment. That's what he's asking us to do.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
Yeah, but it is, it's doable. You can do it.
Well, if you can do it in certain moments, then just extend those moments. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's the same choice you're making.
Yeah.
And the ego is telling you it's a different choice, but actually it's all the same.
It's normally when I think it's just when you're feeling well and, then you can easily get into this state. It's the challenges is when you obviously got stress or whatever, or pain in the body, or that's the challenge, is to go into that when you've got those sort of things going on. That's the big
thing. It's not easy. The ego hasn't made it easy for a reason. It's telling us, no, heaven isn't here. Listen instead to me, and the pain. And the pain and the misery and the suffering are real, rather than heaven. And so we practice because there are going to be times where you doubt, and you got to remind yourself, and reaffirm your choice, which is why we have a lesson. I must decide for pure formless awareness. So I make this decision now, and will not change my mind because it's the only thing I really want. Okay, you said it very explicitly. It's an affirmation of, okay, this is all I want. Let me remind myself of that over and over today. Sorry, did you say something? I was
no, you answered my question. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So read the summary quickly, and then we'll do a meditation. On it, and maybe we'll leave it there. I don't think we have time for text as well. So it was a good session. These lessons. Wow, I mean, there's so much to it. If you unpack it, like wow, I mean, it's like what he's saying here. Each lesson is profoundly life transforming if you just applied it every day.
Oh yeah.
I must, choose states of pure formless awareness. Remind yourself of that every day. He doesn't do it every day because we get bored. So then he changes the form of the lesson, gives us another lesson, but it's the same lesson, just reformulated in a different language with a different perspective, a different angle, but it's the same lesson every day. And very cleverly has done it in a way that still engages our interest. So, okay, what seems like 365 different lessons, but actually it's the same lesson every day. We just don't realize it to start with. It seems like, oh, well, there's different lessons, and that keeps my mind interested and engaged. But the more you practice this, the more you realize, no, it's all the same one lesson, just repeated over and over and over again. Okay, so personalized summary. If you want to read that, just read a paragraph, reflect on it for a minute or two, and then carry on.
In this world, the state of pure formless awareness is a choice because I believe there are alternatives to choose between. I perceive all things as having opposites, making this choice seem necessary. However, beingness knows no opposite, and this perception makes the choice of the state of pure formless awareness appear as the relinquishment of victimhood. What is true in pure formless awareness of perfect love's reality cannot enter here unless reflected in a form the world understands as truth, cannot be perceived with fear. It's just talking about in this world we're in, the state of pure formless awareness is a choice. Because we're perceiving all things as opposites.
Yeah. So it's reminding us, of the non-dual, the metaphysics of the course. It's all based on a non-dual reality, that there's only one reality, not two, and we must let go of the false reality. That's the fundamental truth. And then that plays out as, okay, this looks like a choice. Choice is escape from opposites, as he says. Shall I read this paragraph?
Yes,
Choice is
please.
escape from opposites. Yeah, getting a bit tired now. Choice is escape from opposites, directing my time and effort towards one goal. Without making this decision, my efforts are wasted. I must be reminded that only one real choice exists, and when made, it reveals there was no choice at all. This truth has no opposite. I must remind myself, shall we say. And you remind yourself by practicing the lesson. That's what it's for. It's a reminder. Choosing depends on learning, and while truth is recognized, the state of pure formless awareness, being knowledge, is beyond the goals Yeshua teaches. Well, truth is recognized, the state of pure formless awareness. Yeah. So let's say, I think what I was trying to say, while I can recognize means rethink. Yeah, come to a different understanding, perception. So I can recognize truth. While I can recognize truth in this world, the state of pure formless awareness, being knowledge, is beyond the goals Yeshua teaches. So that's why he says, I can't teach you the meaning of love, because that's beyond what can be taught. So I can't teach you the knowledge of this awareness. That will come when you're ready, but I can teach you to remove all the blocks to that awareness, so that there are no more blocks, and then that awareness, being your natural awareness, will naturally arise. And you remove the blocks by making these decisions. The decisions rest on what I accept as the truth of my being, and therefore my needs. So each decision is saying, well, this is who I am, and these are my needs. And so decision is an affirmation of the thought system you believe in. That's why it's powerful, in effect. When you decide, you're saying, I believe in this thought system as opposed to another one, based on my decision. My decision actualizes, makes that reality that I believe in seemingly actual. You see that? And that's why it's so important to change your decisions. Because each decision is a statement, an affirmation of the truth that you're saying you believe in. Every time you decide for heaven, you're saying, I believe in heaven, the state of pure formless awareness. Every time you decide for the ego, you're saying, I believe in this world, in a separate self, doomed to suffer and die in this world. And so by my choice, then I will live or die. It's my own choice that determines the outcome. Okay, so next one, if you read that, in this complex world.
In this complex world, the state of pure formless awareness appears as a choice. Solving this final choice resolves all others. Today, I consider the choice time helps everyone make, transforming time's purpose from victimhood and suffering to resolving opposites. Awakening can seem like death, as life appears as conflict. These beliefs grip my mind, making it fear truth. Just talking about this complex world, now the state of awareness can make us fear it.
I want to put this in. So awakening can tempt me, can seem like death and tempt me to commit suicide, as life appears to be conflict. Conflict. So freedom then can seem to be death. Seem to me to be death. To be death of the body. Freedom can then seem to only be possible through the death of my body. So freedom then can seem only to be possible, and we'll split the infinitive, through the death of my body. Even though this is just another mad belief. Or my separate self. That grips my mind, making it fear in the truth. Just read that from awakening can seem like death.
Awakening can seem like death and tempt me to commit suicide, as life appears to be conflict. So freedom then can seem only to be possible through the death of my body, even though this is just another mad belief of my separate self that grips my mind, making it fear the truth. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we've dealt with the whole suicide, issue quite well there. It's like it's not the way, it's not gonna help. You've got to stay here and realize that the state of pure formless awareness is accessible even here by letting go of all of your illusions. And when you can experience heaven here now, while you're still seemingly in a body, and you've let go of all of your false beliefs, prepared your mind for the coming of the state, that's your lesson. That's why you're here. It's to do that, to clear away all the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, being that state of awareness. And that's the meaning and the purpose of your life. That's why you're here. So you can't shortcut that process. It's like saying you're going to go to a university and do a degree, but you want to do it it's a 4-year degree, but you're going to do it in 6 months. And you're going to just shortcut the whole process. You can't do that. They won't give you the degree, will they? So you've got to go through the process of learning and integrating that knowledge. And that's why we're here. So it's not permanent. You're not stuck here forever. Thank God for that. You are going to leave, but don't leave prematurely, because that's going to actually sabotage your awakening. You need the world to learn your lessons. Until then people say, well, that's endless. No, because at some point God takes the final step. When you're ready, he's saying, well, God will take the final step very swiftly, and you'll simply be free of the ego entirely. It will drop away. At that point, the body is no longer needed, and you would generally leave the body. People would call that death, but actually you've just awakened. You've transcended the body. So an awakened death. When you're finally ready to let the body go, you want to be completely, associated with the spirit, and the ego has been undone. And that's when you're ready to finally let go of this world, and you'll never have to come back here. You get off the cycle of birth and death, the wheel of suffering, put it in Buddhist terms. You just escape that. But there's a process to do that. Prematurely committing suicide is just another ego defense against that process. Kind of cunning, isn't it? Because it'll tell you that no, this is going to get you what you want. You're going to go to heaven. But it's a liar and a deceiver. You're not. So anyone listening or watching this is contemplating suicide, just remember that. It's a deception. You haven't done the work. You've got to do the work and really free your mind to be ready for the state of pure formless awareness when you're finally ready to lay your body aside. And that will happen organically and naturally. It will happen when you're ready. However that looks for you, no one knows how they're going to die. It might just be old age. You might have an accident. You don't know, but it's not, it's not something that you've gone, okay, I'm going to consciously now take my life. It will happen when you're ready. And you've got to trust that process, really. Say, okay, I'll do my part. I'll learn. I don't know how it's all going to unfold. But I'll just keep practicing, because that's what I can do. And preparing myself for the inevitable, letting go of the body, death, which will come when I'm ready. And I don't know when that's going to be. So let me just crack on with it and busy myself in this world with readying my mind, with preparing my mind for this time of my death, when I'll be ready to let go of the body and the world entirely. And so then it comes down to, well, just moment by moment, I'm practicing. I'm letting go moment by moment. That's all we have to do. All right, so last couple of paragraphs, read the next one. I'll choose the state of pure formless awareness.
Is it not your turn?
Yeah, I think it is, actually. Forgot about that. I will choose the state of pure formless awareness consciously when I clearly understand the alternatives. What's the same? Veiled and limited awareness must be judged with the help of pure formless awareness, correcting past mistakes. There's a full stop there. Shouldn't be there. I clearly understand that the alternatives, veiled and limited awareness, must be judged with the help of pure formless awareness. To correct my past mistakes. Choice is clear when fear is brought to true awareness. Choice becomes simple, becomes clear. Simple when fear is brought. Let's make that active. When I bring fear to my true awareness. So bring fear to true awareness, and everything becomes clear and simple. Choice becomes clear and simple. So each morning I affirm this choice, recognizing the difference between real existence and mere appearances. This and every morning. I confirm this choice. I'm reminding myself that I choose state of formless awareness. Moment by moment throughout the day. Recognizing the difference. Doing so. I recognize the difference between real existence and mere appearances. Between true reality, shall we say, and mere appearances of existence. So this world is an appearance of existence. It appears to exist. It appears to be there. It appears to be reality. But it's just that, an appearance. It's not true. Throughout the day, I reaffirm my decision. Maintaining my sanity and reaffirming my commitment, I confirm my decision, should we say. Confirm my decision by practicing the lesson. By reminding myself that I choose pure formless awareness. Maintaining my sanity and reaffirming my commitment to pure formless awareness in the process. Maintaining my sanity, yeah. Okay. So I'll just read that again. This every morning. I'll read from the top. I'll choose the state of pure formless awareness consciously when I clearly understand that the alternatives veiled in limited awareness, so negative awareness, veiled in negative awareness, must be judged with the help of pure formless awareness to correct my past mistakes, that I must judge. Let's make it active. I must judge alternatives veiled in negative awareness with the help of pure formless awareness to correct my past mistakes. Choice becomes clear and simple when I bring fear to my true awareness. Listen every morning. I confirm this choice by reminding myself that I choose the state of pure formless awareness moment by moment throughout the day. And in doing so, I recognize the difference between true reality and mere appearances of existence. Throughout the day, I confirm my decision by reminding myself, capital self, that I choose pure formless awareness, maintaining my sanity and reaffirming my commitment to pure formless awareness in the process. And as I said, that lesson is going to be repeated every day. Just the form of it changes, but it's the same lesson and the same process every day. To remind yourself that you're choosing this alternate reality, pure formless awareness, heaven, love, peace, joy, and relinquishing the ego's thought system in the process. Okay. Happy with that paragraph, Elaine? Any questions on that?
Yeah.
Really?
Cool. Yeah, that's good.
So just the key message to wrap it up, if you can read that.
In this world, I must choose the state of pure formless awareness, recognizing it has no true opposite. This choice is key to resolving all other decisions and transforming fear and illusions into truth. I reaffirm my commitment to pure formless awareness by reminding myself throughout the day that no matter what seems to be happening, I must make the decision for pure formless awareness.
Yeah. It's the one decision you can make. So, various dramas are happening in life, and you can always choose pure formless awareness. That's a choice that's always available, no matter what's kicking off. So you choose your response in the moment. When you choose pure formless awareness, you choose peace. You choose to remain peaceful and calm and loving and centered, rather than reactive and getting upset and turbulated. That's how it plays out in practice. And so you remain calm and peaceful and loving and kind, no matter what seems to be happening. Easier said than done. It's all kicking off and the ego's having a right old go, as you know. The drama's happening.
Yes.
But the thought, okay, the state of pure formless awareness is still there, and I can choose it now, and I can choose to be peaceful no matter what. That choice can restore your mind to sanity in that moment. All right. So, any other thoughts on this, comments or questions, or you ready to just go into a med on it?
Yeah, ready to go into a meditation. Yeah, that'd be good. Thank you.
To close the session. So, making yourself comfortable. Okay, so this is a meditation on today's lesson, workbook lesson 138. So just making yourself comfortable, sitting in your favorite meditation posture. So if you're in a chair, generally feet shoulder width apart, keep your back straight, cup your hands in your lap, or just have your palms facing upwards with your knuckles down on each thigh. Close your eyes and start off with a nice deep breath in through the nose. Just inviting this state of pure formless awareness we've talked about in. Nice deep breath in. Notice how the stomach blows out. The chest rises. Subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. And clench your sphincter muscle. You lock the energy in. Draw the energy up to the spine. Feel it moving into your heart center. And put one hand on your heart to connect with your heart space. Find that helpful. And draw the energy up into the crown of your head. Maximal inhale breath. All the energy rising up to the crown of your head, pausing at the top of the inhale. And you just scan your mind. So just noticing any thoughts that are disturbing your peace, disturbing your true being. Could be a little anxious thought, or maybe an attack thought. You're irritated with something or someone. you're fearful, you're angry, you're upset in any way, shape, or form, just observe all that. Look at it from this higher state of your true awareness, pure formless awareness. Say, I must decide for pure formless awareness in the situation. Breathe in to activate that choice. As in, you're breathing in this awareness, it's flowing into the body, the mind, the life. So let this awareness arise. Say, I must decide for pure formless awareness, this awareness. And I make this decision now and will not change my mind because it is the only thing I really want. I want this awareness and nothing else. And this awareness is my happiness, my peace, my joy, eternal life. Everything I can truly want is there. This is eternal bliss. Everything else pales into comparison besides this awareness. And then exhale on the truth of this and just have a sense of releasing any other awareness. Imagine it's like a dark cloud or a black smoke, just leaving you going, gone. And the nothingness that it really is. So awareness is dissipating, it's leaving you. Say, I choose the state of pure formless awareness right now. Can never be choice made in the past or the future. It can only be made now. So I make it right now. And I will not change my mind again, because it's the only thing I really want. So right now, just open yourself, your mind to the experience of this state of pure formless awareness. Just allow this state to arise in your mind, in your awareness. There's nothing you need to do. There's nothing you need to say. Just breathe naturally. Just observe the breath. Your mind wanders. Bring your mind back to observing the breath flowing into your nostrils and out of the nostrils. It's the only technique perhaps that's needed if your mind's wandering. Just rest, ideally, in this state of pure formless awareness. Resting in pure formless awareness, perfect love. There's nowhere else to go. There's nothing else to do, nothing else to think about. Just rest in this state. Breathe, relax, and rest in the state of pure formless awareness, sinking inwards, going deeper and deeper, deeper and deeper with each passing moment into This deep state of rest, state of mind beyond all illusions, in which only the truth is true. So rest in this state of pure formless awareness for a few minutes of deep, peaceful, restful silence right now. So just gently coming back in this deep connected state into an awareness again of your body, and do that through the breath. Same way you enter the meditation is how you come out of it. So on the count of 3, you're going to open your eyes. So 1, just breathing in, just noticing how the stomach rises and the chest rises, and subtle flow of air in through the nostrils. You pause at the top of the inhale, smile, scan your mind, noticing there's thoughts, emotions going on. If there's anything that's not just pure formless awareness that feels other than that, it's difficult. Just acknowledge it and remind yourself that heaven is the decision I must make, or I must decide for pure formless awareness. So I make this decision now and will not change my mind because it is the only thing I really want. I must decide for the state of pure formless awareness. Make this decision now and will not change my mind because the only thing I really want. Exhale on the truth of this. Confirm this statement. Yeah, exhale, blow it all out. The breeze of your breath. The nothingness that it really is. It's going, gone. Pull the lower stomach into the spine. Expel the last traumatic air out. And just rest. Bottom of the exhale for a few moments in this state of pure formless awareness, a deeply peaceful, restful state. Now anchor the state in, set the intention to stay here in the state for the rest of the day and on into your weekend. So it is said and so it is done. To help you do that, you're going to practice today's lesson. Remind yourself frequently that I must decide for the state of pure formless awareness in this moment. This is the only thing I want. It's the only thing of any value to me. So I make this decision now and I will not change my mind because it's the only thing I really want. So on the count of 2, you're going to notice the weight of your body pressing down into the chair and your feet touching the ground, and notice what you're feeling. Your hands touching, tasting, smelling, noticing these things in this very still, calm, and aware state of mind, a state of mind without illusions, in which only the truth is true. Connect with that truth of pure formless awareness. Go with you wherever you go, to every situation, every encounter, for the rest of today and the weekend. And so it's said, so it's done. And on the count of 3 now, you're going to open your eyes. So just opening your eyes, looking around for a minute or so, just to bring yourself back into this world very gently. So observe any object in the room around you. Notice that this deeply peaceful awareness underlies your perception of it. You don't have to name it, judge it, and think about it in any way. Just observe with this underlying peaceful awareness and then move on to something else. Notice the same feeling, the same awareness underlies that perception and anything that you look at. So just let your eyes randomly look at a few things for a couple of seconds at a time and notice the same awareness going on. And close your eyes briefly. Notice this awareness maybe more strongly when you close your eyes. And you open your eyes again, look around and notice that same awareness. It hasn't really changed. So, this little mind training exercise at the end of the meditations is designed to teach you that it's the same awareness. Nothing's really changed. Whether you're deep in meditation and accessing that, experiencing that state of pure formless awareness in a deep meditation, or whether you're just walking around and your sense perceptions are going on, doesn't matter. It's the same awareness. And if you can stay rooted in that awareness, that is the awakened state. That is what enlightenment in this world means, or being in the world, but not of it, as Yeshua phrased it. So that's what I wish for you, be in the world, but not of the world, and stay in this state of pure formless awareness as much as you can, which will bring you peace and joy over the course of the weekend. So that brings us to the end of the meditation and of today's session. So thank you, Elaine.
Yeah, excellent.
For that.
Yeah, very good.
Good session. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Very good. Very good. Yay!
Yeah.
It's Friday. It's the weekend.
Yay. It's the weekend. Yes.
Yeah.
Nice.
So hopefully that's kicked off on a good note. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's been flow in the weekend. Elaine, I've decided Sundays, I'm not going to do Sundays anymore because it's
Okay.
always a problem. I have to depart from
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
family at about 7 and we're busy with dinner. And
Yeah. Of
Lynn said,
course.
well, why don't you even do 5 days? I'm like, okay, I'll just do 5 days. So
Yeah. Of course.
the choice of 3 out of the 5 days. So
Yeah.
I'll see you Monday,
Have a
Monday
nice.
afternoon. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Okay. Well,
okay. You then.
have a nice weekend.
Thank
Namaste.
you. You too.
Thank you.
Namaste. Bye for now.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, so that's a wrap for today. Thank you to Elaine for joining. If you enjoyed the session, then to take the next step, you can subscribe to the channel. You'll be notified whenever I go live, which, as you've heard, is up to 5 times a week. Be notified whenever I go live via YouTube, so you can watch the live stream or the recording. You can also go to lifebuild.com and you can sign up to receive a message on Telegram every day from me. Some of the stuff I shared up front with the daily quote and the blog post you saw in the email, that comes to you free of charge via Telegram every day, along with a mind training lesson from A Course in Miracles with alternative language and a short meditation or breath break that will help you practice it. So check it out at lifebuild.com, sign up, and you'll also be notified about the timing of these live sessions. So you can join them and you'll get a link to join. You can actually join these calls for free at no charge for a trial period to see if this program works for you. So check it out at lifebuild.com, hit the subscribe button, and I hope to see you on the inside soon. Thanks for watching or listening, and namaste, which means the true self in me that knows heaven, knows the state of pure formless awareness, acknowledges and honors that same true aware state in you. I'm wishing you much love, peace, and joy in that state of pure formless awareness. Remember, no matter what seems to happen, to make the choice for heaven, or that the state of pure formless awareness. Okay, hope to see you on the inside. Have a good evening and weekend, and